I was very aware that I learned differently, and I've known since I was in second grade that I was different somehow.
Dash has dyslexia and ADHD and some social awareness issues. And in kindergarten, I could tell that he was having problems in school, and the school thought that he needed psychotherapy. And as a psychotherapist myself, I believe in psychotherapy, but I could see that there were some things he just wasn't getting. And the big problem was that because he's bright, he's got a high vocabulary, he's articulate, he's extroverted, that it was really hard for them to see the invisible disabilities and how impaired he was. You know, his attention, his tracking, his being aware of social cues, that it wasn't that he needed psychotherapy, his brain just was not processing the nonverbal information.
I was somewhat frustrated at times because I couldn't read. I read a third grade reading level in seventh grade, so I didn't like to read in class. And I was for 5 years being in special ed, and I never learned how to read there.
By middle school, he was really suffering. He couldn't keep up with his textbooks, couldn't keep up with his work. He begged not to go to school. He begged to drop out. He wanted me to homeschool him. I, at one point, had to get a police escort to get him out of the car into school. He was bullied, pushed downstairs. Students were suspended.
Before I was pulled out of school by my doctor, I had lost 20% of my body weight, and I was 73 pounds. I was skin and bones. And I was bullied and called names, pretty much every name in the book, every day. Followed home, like every other day.
His doctors were going to hospitalize him, thinking he was anorexic. And I suggested that we just take him out of school for a week and see how he did. And sure enough, he was out of school for a week. He could eat again, and he actually gained weight. And so he didn't go back to public school. And then found STAR, and he started in 8th grade at STAR and came to STAR for 3 years. To come here as a parent and to find other parents who've been misunderstood and who are so relieved to have a place where they're not worrying about their kid every day, are they going to get a phone call, and a place where parents are investigating and trying to understand what works for their kid. And we have shared so many resources, community resources, approaches, ways to help our kids. The isolation ends when your kid comes to STAR. And so really the first year here for Dash was healing. And I never had to get a police escort. He never was begging to drop out of school very quickly. That cleared up, and he was eager to come to school, and it made a huge difference.
Overall, they're good teachers. While I was here, I had the best science teacher I've ever actually had in my life, and I probably learned the most in science that I've ever learned. Because it was a lot of hands-on, and it was a lot of repeating stuff, which may get boring, but it worked. And then having a few guy teachers here really does help for the guys, so they can learn the guy humor and what is humor and which is play, which is not. And the teachers really care about what they're doing. They're really motivated they love their job. They love teaching kids.
When I met with Sula, who was the director at the time, and explained Dash, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven when she said, "Oh, does he have trouble with flexible thinking?" I was like, that term, it was like, flexible thinking, that's it. And Sula said, "We work with that." But I think the big deal was that the integration of the interventions in one site, speech and language therapy, social skills therapy, Lindamood Bell, Slingerland, Making Math Real, OT for self-regulation issues, all of that where staff are coordinating to provide those services and integrating them in the classroom and outside the classroom made so much more sense than piecemealing intervention. I think the big deal that happened for him was that his defensiveness about having problems went way down. It's like the shame disappeared, The defensiveness disappeared. So, if I point something out to him now, instead of saying, that's not a problem, or I didn't do that, he says, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't get that.
Now I am at Tam High School in Mill Valley, where I decided to go after being at Star for 3 years because I felt that it was getting a little too easy for me and I needed a challenge. My mom wasn't really sure if I should go. My dad was sure, and my mentor was like, yeah, definitely, he's gone. So I went to Tam, and I went to junior year with my fellow classmates, and I got through the year perfectly fine. I had a little flaw there, here and one little flaw, but not much.
It's not as if Star cured his learning disabilities, but he's got the capacity to, own his challenges and own his strengths and be much less defensive about it.
Star really contributed to how much I've succeeded at TAM because it got me up on my feet. It allowed me to do work that I now can do. I wrote a 8-page paper for a final, which for me is a big deal, and I got a B+ on it, so I'm really happy about that. And I'm graduating from high school, and so a lot of what I've done has a lot to do with how much Star has helped me in speech and language, the Move Bell, OT, and a lot of their specialists are just great.
Had he not come to Star, he would not be so successful his junior year as he'd been last year at TAM, and so excited about being a senior, and so excited he's going to graduate, and so excited to be going on to college. My kid that was going to drop out of school, that begged not to go to school, is planning to go to college.